Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin and welcome to Solitary Ronin Films, and today I would just like to make a quick video and talk about The Thing about The Thing. Now, The Thing must be right up there in the top videos on YouTube with people explaining all the subtexts and talking about, the conspiracy theories involved with the film. But I just really wanted to talk about how I feel about it and why it's one of my favourite films, and why 36 years later, coming up for 37 years later, it's still almost perfect and easily one of the most watched films in my collection, and easily in my top 20 films of all time, even though there's probably about 50 films in my top 20. First of all, it must be quite good because I have 5 different editions of it. Don't judge me too harshly. I only had 1 or 2 and then I thought, what the hell? It's a nice Arrow release. And again, apart from being a great film, The Thing does have one of the greatest making of documentaries. Terror Takes Shape, which is an hour and a half in itself. And it really is the benchmark for making ofs. I would recommend the Scream Factory edition because that has new interviews of cast members that weren't actually in Terror Takes Shape, and it also has a commentary by Dean Cundey, the DP. So how can you resist that? I mean, that's absolutely beautiful. So I'm not going to get into the history in the film and the background of the film. I just want to talk about why I love the film so much and why it has endured. And the first thing about The Thing is the soundtrack. It's part Carpenter, part Ennio Morricone, and as soon as the intro music starts, the sense of dread is already established, and it continues through the film. Isolated, the soundtrack is kind of atonal and not amongst Morricone's best, but in the context of the film, it's just absolutely fantastic. So already you have the kind of the layering of dread and unease that permeates the film, because this is one of the most atmospheric films ever made for me. And then another thing about The Thing is the pacing of the film. It's one of those films that is just so perfectly paced. A lot of films nowadays just go straight into the action and we're on with the plot, whereas The Thing, it still is perpetually moving. It doesn't drag in any way. You're hooked immediately with the 2 Norwegians appearing in the camp. And of course I love the way Carpenter doesn't use subtitles, so we are put in the position of the characters because we don't know what the Norwegians are talking about. And from then on, it's one of those rare films that rattles along but it still takes time for character. And that moves on to my next point. And one of the great things about The Thing is the ensemble cast. So even characters like Knowles, the chef, we learn things about his character. We get to know him, even though he's not actually on screen for that long. It's just such a brilliant way of character building. So even the smallest parts, we still know so much about them. So even Bennings, and again, I'm just gonna, if you haven't seen the film, one, why haven't you seen the film? So Bennings, who's kind of the first to go, we still know what Bennings is like. We still get to know his character, and it's rare in a kind of horror science fiction film that does rattle along that the character building is so good, and the characters are built in such a way that even one or two lines of dialogue or one or two little actions by characters kind of lets you in on what that person's like. You know, we know by the way Clark deals with the dogs and his relationship between dogs and humans. We already kind of know that Clark's a bit of an outsider. So the characters, again, which is rare for a science fiction horror film, the characters are just so rich, and you get the sense that obviously living in that isolated outpost, you know, people are tired, people are easily annoyed by each other, they're easily irritated by each other. Obviously Kurt Russell, his character Macready, is irritated by the chess machine, which is voiced by Adrienne Barbeau, who was John Carpenter's wife at the time. So the characters are built really well, and it's such a great ensemble of actors, mostly theatre actors, mostly guys that you would say, oh yeah, I remember him from that thing he was in. In actual fact, Kurt Russell was probably the only actor that was, you know, didn't come from a theatre background. And they're all unique and they're all different, but they're not all stereotypes. It's kind of brilliant that Childs is kind of the last one, along with Macready, to survive. So I mean, it's just one of the most kind of talented ensemble pieces. It's right up there with 12 Angry Men for just having such a great group who play off each other so well. Their kind of distrust or dislike of each other is already there, and then obviously once the questions of identity come up, it's just an excuse for people who already kind of are irritated by people to kind of use that as a springboard for their dislike. Which leads on to another thing about The Thing and why it's lasted so long, is the questions of identity, the questions of what makes us human, and all the questions that come up from the film. You know, which character is the Thing and when were they the Thing? If you are taken over by this organism, do you still have some sense of who you are? Do you know that you're the Thing? Or is just all humanity completely gone? Obviously, one of the questions that always comes up is when you see the dog go into the room and you see the shadow on the wall, it was always, well, which character's that? But the fact that was actually a member of the crew which again leads to all the questions. And again, that comes to the next thing about the thing, is the ambiguity. And I think that's another reason why I love the film, and another reason why there's so many videos on YouTube about the thing. Again, questioning who's the thing and when were they the thing. Questions about whether Childs or MacReady is the thing. This whole series of videos about how you don't see Childs' breath at the end, that must make him a thing, even though maybe he's just because he's closer to the fire than MacReady is. There's videos on the fact that Childs' jacket seems to be a different colour at the end than the one he had on earlier. You know, there's rabbit holes of conspiracy theories, and you know, videos of when the blood is destroyed and only 2 people have access to the key. It's like, who destroyed the blood? When did they get the key? There's just lots of questions, and obviously the end. Granted, they did shoot another ending, but fortunately they never used it. The editor, Todd Ramsey, actually suggested shooting an ending where MacReady was rescued and then did the blood test, but fortunately that wasn't used. And again, that's why I think it lasts, because it does have one of the most bleakest, fantastic endings of all time. But again, just that ambiguity. And again, we don't see everything. We're not shown everything like modern cinema. We don't see Knowles dying. We don't see Fuchs dying. Whereas nowadays you would see a lot more and be told a lot more. We find out what happened at the Norwegian camp as the characters find out about it. You know, we're not ahead of the game. And it doesn't matter how many times you see it, you're still drawn into it. You're still drawn into it by the richness in the characters. And the next thing about the thing is, it's just one of the most quotable films of all time. It's up there with Not I, Sweet Smell of Success, just as really quotable pieces of film. From obviously the classic response to the Norris's head sprouting legs, to First Goddamn Week of Winter, to Ain't Fuchs, and Faith is a hard thing to come by these days. It's just endlessly quotable. It is a film that I could watch once a week quite easily. I mean, there's great films, but you wouldn't necessarily watch them once a week. You know, Tarkovsky and Bergman have great films, but you wouldn't really watch them once a week. Well, personally, I wouldn't watch them once a week. But The Thing, The Third Man, Once Upon a Time in the West, Seven Samurai, films like that I could watch every week and not grow tired of them, and that's the true mark of a great film. And another great thing about The Thing is practical effects. It's another reason why it stood the test of time. There is nothing worse than bad CG, which they used in the 2011 prequel, which wasn't terrible. It wasn't very good, but it wasn't terrible. And they were going to do practical effects, but the studio, I think, something happened and they ended up using CG effects, and they were just terrible. And it instantly takes you out of the reality of it. You know, the best CG shouldn't be noticed. You shouldn't be able to notice good CG. And Rob Bottin, who was young at the time, his practical effects are just still amazing, and that's one of the reasons why it just doesn't age. It looks as though it could have been made today. Granted, the only minor grievance might be the puppetry at the end, and also the flying saucer at the start, the pre-title sequence. Bizarrely, Predator used the exact same pre-title sequence of actually seeing the ship coming to Earth, which you just don't really need. But apart from that, we'll let John Carpenter away with it. Apart from that, The Thing is one of those films that I count as being perfect. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I apologise if you don't like The Thing. And obviously I'm just repeating things that other people have said in The Thing videos on YouTube. But I just felt it's one of my favourite films, and I just thought I'd tell you some things about The Thing. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you all had a good Christmas, and wish you all the best for the new year. And hopefully we'll see you again. This is Zoltan Rowan saying farewell.